Hello, my lovely friends, and welcome back to Emma's Stories, where we dive into tales of love that touch the heart and stir the soul. I'm so glad you're here with me today because we're about to embark on a journey that proves love can bloom even in the darkest corners of life. Picture this: a billionaire who seems to have it all: wealth, power, a perfect life, yet beneath the surface, he's trapped in a world of betrayal and emptiness. His story might have ended in tragedy, but then someone unexpected stepped in, a quiet maid with a heart full of courage, and changed everything. This is a story about love finding its way through pain, about two souls discovering each other when they least expected it. So, grab a cozy blanket, maybe a cup of tea, and let's get lost in this beautiful tale together. Now, let me ask you something to warm up your heart. Have you ever wondered if love could heal the deepest wounds, the kind that cut so deep you think they'll never fade? That's what we're exploring today, a love that doesn't just survive, but thrives against all odds. Our story begins with a man named Lucas Grayson. He's the kind of man you'd see on magazine covers, tall, handsome, with piercing blue eyes and a smile that could charm a room. At 40, Lucas is a billionaire who built Grayson Enterprises from the ground up, a titan of industry living in a sprawling mansion just outside Chicago. But behind those grand doors, Lucas carries a quiet loneliness. He's surrounded by people, yet he feels unseen, untouched by the warmth he craves. His life looks like a dream, but it's a dream he's desperate to wake up from. Then there's his wife, Vanessa Grayson. She's breathtaking, elegant, poised, with golden hair and a laugh that sparkles like champagne at a gala. To the world, Vanessa is the perfect partner, always by Lucas's side at glittering events, her hand resting lightly on his arm. But at home, she's a stranger. Her smiles never reach her eyes, and her words feel rehearsed, like lines from a play she's tired of performing. Lucas married her 5 years ago, hoping for love, for a connection to fill the void in his chest. Instead, he found a wall he couldn't break through. Every night he lies awake, wondering if this is all life has for him, a golden cage with no key. Into this world steps Clara Bennett. She's 35, with soft brown hair she ties back simply, and warm hazel eyes that seem to see more than most. Clara is the new maid at the Grayson mansion, hired to blend into the background, to polish the marble floors and serve champagne at parties, without a word. But Clara isn't just a maid. She carries a past she keeps hidden, a brilliant mind once destined for greatness, a career in medical research stolen from her by a cruel twist of fate. She's quiet, almost invisible, but there's something about her that catches his attention. Maybe it's the way she moves with purpose, or the way her gaze lingers on him just a moment too long, not with judgment, but with something he can't quite name. This story isn't just about wealth or betrayal, though there's plenty of both. It's about two people who thought they'd lost their chance at happiness, only to find it in the most unexpected place. Lucas doesn't know it yet, but Clara is about to become the light he's been searching for. The one person who sees him not as a billionaire or a name, but as a man with a heart that still beats, still hopes. And Clara? She's about to discover that saving someone else might just save her too. So, my dear friends, are you ready to see how love can rewrite a destiny, how it can turn poison into promise? Let's step into the Grayson mansion together and watch this beautiful, heartbreaking, and ultimately uplifting story unfold. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment. Now that we've stepped into this world, let's take a closer look at Lucas Grayson's life, a life that sparkles on the outside but feels hollow within. Imagine a mansion perched on a hill just outside Chicago, its white stone walls glowing under the Midwest sun. The Grayson estate is a masterpiece, towering windows that stretch from floor to ceiling, marble floors that echo with every step, and chandeliers dripping with crystals that catch the light like stars. It's the kind of place you'd see in a movie, where the rich and powerful gather to sip expensive wine and trade secrets disguised as small talk. Every weekend, the grand ballroom fills with guests, senators, CEOs, socialites, all dressed in designer gowns and tailored suits, their laughter bouncing off the walls. To anyone watching, Lucas Grayson is the king of this kingdom, a man who commands respect with a single glance. But let's pull back the velvet curtain and see the truth Lucas hides so well. At 40, he's built an empire, Grayson Enterprises, a name whispered in boardrooms across the country. He's brilliant, driven, the kind of man who can close $1 million deal before breakfast. Yet when the guests leave and the lights dim, Lucas stands alone in that massive house, staring out at the city's skyline through those towering windows. The silence presses against him like a weight. He's surrounded by wealth, artwork worth millions, cars that gleam in the garage, but none of it fills the ache in his chest. He's not just lonely, he's invisible, even to himself. The man who has everything feels like he has nothing that matters, and the one person who should see him, who should know him better than anyone, is the source of that emptiness. That person is Vanessa Grayson, his wife of 5 years. Vanessa is a vision, tall and graceful, with golden hair that falls in perfect waves and green eyes that seem to hold 1,000 secrets. She's the queen of every room she enters, her voice soft and melodic, her smile dazzling enough to charm even the coldest hearts. At charity galas, she glides through the crowd, her silk gown shimmering, her hand resting lightly on Lucas's arm as cameras flash. They're the perfect couple, or so the headlines say. But behind closed doors, it's a different story. Vanessa's warmth vanishes the moment the audience is gone. Her smiles fade, her words turn sharp or distant, and her touch feels like a formality. Lucas remembers the early days of their marriage, how he'd hoped she'd be his partner, his confidant, the one to share his dreams and fears. Instead, she's built a wall between them, brick by brick, until he's left wondering if she ever loved him at all. Every night, Lucas lies in their king-size bed, the space between them as wide as an ocean. He listens to her steady breathing, wondering what went wrong. Was it him? Did he push her away with his long hours, his endless ambition? Or was she always this distant, hiding behind that flawless mask? He wants to reach out, to bridge the gap, but something stops him. A quiet fear that she'd pull away, leaving him even more alone. He's trapped in a marriage that looks like gold but feels like chains, yearning for a connection he's not sure exists anymore. The mansion, with all its grandeur, is just a beautiful prison, and Lucas is its solitary prisoner waiting for someone to set him free. And then, one day, Clara Bennett walks into his life. She's new to the staff, hired to keep the mansion spotless and the guests happy. Clara is different from the others. She doesn't chatter or fawn over the luxury around her. She's quiet, almost unnoticeable, with her simple uniform and her hair tied back in a loose bun. But there's something about her that draws Lucas's eye. Maybe it's the way she moves, steady and deliberate, like she's carrying a strength no one else sees. Or maybe it's her eyes hazel and warm, with a depth that makes him feel exposed, as if she's looking straight through the polished surface he shows the world. She's just a maid, someone who pours champagne and fades into the background, but Lucas finds himself noticing her more than he should. When she hands him a drink at a party, their fingers brush for a fleeting second, and he feels a spark, a tiny, fragile thing he hasn't felt in years. Clara doesn't know it yet, but she's about to become the key to unlocking Lucas's heart. And Lucas doesn't realize it, but she's the first person in a long time who truly sees him, not the billionaire, not the name, but the man beneath it all, longing for something real. This lavish life, with all its glitter and emptiness, is about to change forever, because sometimes love doesn't come wrapped in diamonds. Sometimes it arrives in the quiet steps of someone you never expected. Let's step deeper into this story, my friends, because something extraordinary is about to happen in the Grayson mansion, a moment that plants the tiniest seed of love in the unlikeliest of places. Clara Bennett has been working at the estate for a few weeks now, and she's settled into her role as the invisible maid. She polishes silver, refills drinks, and keeps her head down, just as she's supposed to. But Clara isn't like the other staff. She carries a secret past that weighs on her every step. Once, she was a rising star in medical research, a woman with a brilliant mind and a passion for saving lives. She worked long hours in labs, studying chemicals and compounds, dreaming of making a difference. But that dream was stolen from her when she uncovered corruption at a pharmaceutical company, falsified data that put lives at risk. She spoke up, and they crushed her, stripping away her career, her reputation, everything she'd built. Now, at 35, she's starting over, hiding her brilliance behind a maid's uniform, her heart guarded against the world. Yet, even in this quiet role, Clara can't turn off the part of her that notices things others miss. She's been watching Lucas Grayson not in an obvious way, but with the careful eye of someone trained to observe. She sees how he carries himself at those lavish parties, all charm and confidence, but there's a shadow in his movements. His hands tremble ever so slightly when he thinks no one's looking, his blue eyes, so striking in the light, dim with exhaustion by the end of the night. To everyone else, he's just tired, overworked, stressed, the price of being a billionaire. But Clara knows better. Those signs tug at something deep inside her, a memory from her research days, symptoms that don't add up to simple fatigue. She tries to push it away, to tell herself it's not her place. She's just a maid, not his doctor, not his friend. Why should she care? But her heart won't let her ignore it. There's a kindness in Lucas she's seen glimpses of. A quiet thank you here, a tired smile there, and it stirs something in her she thought was long buried. The turning point comes one crisp autumn evening, during one of those glittering galas the Graysons are famous for. The ballroom is alive with music and chatter, guests swirling around in their finest. Clara moves through the crowd, a tray of champagne balanced in her hands, her presence barely noticed. Lucas stands near the grand staircase, chatting with a senator, his posture perfect, but his left hand twitching faintly as he grips his glass. Clara's eyes narrow. She's seen that tremor before, and it's worse tonight. She glances at Vanessa, who's across the room, radiant in a deep red gown, laughing with a group of admirers. Then it happens. Vanessa excuses herself, gliding toward the private bar with Lucas's empty glass in hand. The bartender turns away for a moment, and in that split second, Clara sees it. Vanessa's hand slips into her clutch, pulling out a tiny vial. With a fluid motion, she tips its contents into the glass, the movement so quick and graceful it could be mistaken for adjusting her bracelet. No one else notices. No one else cares. But Clara's heart stops. She stands frozen, her tray trembling slightly in her grip. Her mind races back to her research. Thallium, a heavy metal poison, subtle and deadly, known for causing tremors, fatigue, a slow unraveling of the body. It's not a guess anymore, it's a certainty. Vanessa is poisoning Lucas, and he doesn't even know it. Clara's first instinct is to run, to pretend she saw nothing. She's already lost everything once. Why risk it again for a man she barely knows? But then she looks at Lucas, standing there alone in a crowd, his shoulders slumped just a little, and something inside her shifts. She can't walk away, not this time. She spent years regretting the lives she couldn't save. Maybe this is her chance to make it right, to protect someone who doesn't even realize he needs her. As Vanessa returns, handing Lucas the glass with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes, Clara makes her move. She steps closer, her heart pounding, and offers him a fresh champagne flute from her tray. "Sir, this one's just poured," she says softly, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Lucas turns, surprised, and their eyes meet, really meet for the first time. In that moment, something passes between them. His gaze lingers, searching her face, and Clara feels a warmth she hasn't known in years. He takes the new glass, his fingers brushing hers, and murmurs, "Thank you, Clara." It's the first time he said her name, and it sends a shiver down her spine. He doesn't drink from Vanessa's glass. He sets it aside, distracted by the senator, unaware of the danger he's just escaped. Clara steps back into the shadows, her pulse racing. She's saved him, for now, but she knows this is only the beginning. And Lucas? He can't shake the feeling that something's different about her, that quiet maid with the steady hands and knowing eyes. He doesn't understand it yet, but that fleeting touch, that single glance, has planted a seed in his heart, a seed of trust, of hope, of something that might just grow into love. Now, my friends, we're stepping into the heart of this story, a moment where two lives, so different on the surface, begin to intertwine in ways neither Lucas nor Clara could have imagined. That night at the gala, when Clara swapped Lucas's poisoned drink for a safe one, something shifted. She didn't sleep a wink afterward, her mind racing with what she'd seen. Vanessa's cold precision, the tiny vial, the way she smiled as she handed Lucas his death sentence, it haunted Clara. She knew she couldn't stay silent, not when she had the power to stop it. But telling Lucas, the billionaire who barely knew her name until tonight, felt impossible. What if he didn't believe her? What if he laughed it off? Or worse, fired her for overstepping? She paced her small room in the staff quarters, the moonlight spilling through the window, her heart torn between fear and a stubborn need to do what was right. The next morning, Clara finds Lucas alone in his study, a rare moment away from the whirlwind of his life. The room is all dark wood and leather, a sanctuary of quiet power, with bookshelves stretching to the ceiling. He's sitting at his desk, staring at a stack of papers, but his hands tremble as he lifts his coffee cup. Clara knocks softly, her tray of fresh linens a flimsy excuse to be there. Lucas looks up, surprised, and waves her in. "Clara, right?" he says, his voice rough from lack of sleep. She nods, stepping closer, her resolve hardening. "Mr. Grayson," she begins, her tone steady but soft. "I need to tell you something. It's about last night, your drink." Lucas frowns, setting the cup down. "Go on," he says, his blue eyes narrowing, curious but guarded. Clara takes a deep breath, her words spilling out like a confession. "I saw your wife put something in your glass at the gala. I think I know it was poison, thallium specifically. It's slow, subtle, but it explains the tremors, the exhaustion. You're in danger, sir." The silence that follows is heavy, electric. Lucas stares at her, his face unreadable, and for a moment Clara thinks she's made a terrible mistake. Then he leans back in his chair, running a hand through his dark hair. "Poison," he repeats, almost to himself. "You're telling me, Vanessa, my wife is trying to kill me." His voice cracks, not with anger, but with a raw, wounded disbelief that makes Clara's chest ache. She nods, stepping closer. "I've seen the signs before, in my work. I couldn't let you drink it. I swapped the glass." Lucas's gaze locks onto hers, searching for a lie, but all he finds is truth and something else, a quiet strength that steadies him. "Why should I trust you?" he asks, but there's no accusation in it, just a man grasping for something real. Clara meets his eyes, unflinching. "Because I've lost everything once for telling the truth. I won't watch someone else suffer when I can help." Her words hang between them, and in that moment, Lucas feels it, a flicker of trust, fragile but alive. He nods slowly. "All right. What do we do?" Clara exhales, relieved, and lays out a plan. She'll test the residue from the glass she saved, confirm the poison, while Lucas keeps up appearances to avoid tipping Vanessa off. From that day, an unlikely alliance forms. Clara sneaks into the staff kitchen late at night, using her old research skills to analyze the glass with makeshift tools, a dropper, a stolen microscope, anything she can find. Lucas watches her work from the shadows, marveling at her focus, her hands steady where his tremble. "You're good at this," he says one night, his voice low, almost reverent. Clara glances up, a faint blush on her cheeks. "I used to be," she replies, and there's a sadness there that makes Lucas want to know more, to know her. When she confirms it's thallium, her hazel eyes meet his, and he feels a jolt, not just fear, but gratitude. "You saved my life," he says, stepping closer, his hand brushing hers as he takes the evidence. The touch lingers, warm and electric, and neither pulls away. Lucas starts pretending, letting his steps falter at dinners, dropping a glass at a meeting, playing the part of a man fading under stress. Vanessa watches with those cold green eyes, her concern a perfect act, but Lucas sees through it now, thanks to Clara. They meet in secret behind closed doors, in the dim light of his study, planning their next move. One night, as rain taps against the windows, Lucas grabs Clara's hand to stop her from leaving. "Thank you," he whispers, his thumb tracing her knuckles. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Clara's breath catches, her heart pounding. She wants to pull away, to protect herself from feeling too much, but his touch anchors her. "You don't have to do this alone," she says, her voice trembling with something she can't name. Inside, Clara's fighting a battle of her own. She spent years building walls around her heart, convinced love only leads to pain. Her career's collapse taught her that trust is a luxury she can't afford. But Lucas is different. He looks at her like she's more than a maid, more than her past. His quiet strength, his vulnerability, chip away at her defenses. She catches herself thinking about him when she's alone, the way his smile softens when he says her name, the warmth of his hand on hers. It scares her, this pull she can't ignore, but it also feels like coming alive again. For Lucas, Clara is a lifeline. He's spent years drowning in Vanessa's indifference, convincing himself he didn't deserve more. But Clara sees him, the real him, and it's waking something inside him he thought was dead. He finds himself watching her as she works, memorizing the curve of her jaw, the way her eyes light up when she talks about science. He doesn't just need her to survive this. He wants her in his life, in a way he hasn't wanted anyone before. As they sit together one night, the evidence between them, he looks at her and thinks, "She's not just saving me from poison, she's saving me from myself." This alliance, born of danger, is turning into something deeper, something neither of them can deny. We've reached the beating heart of this story, my friends, a moment where danger and love collide, where Lucas and Clara face the truth together and find something they never dared to dream of. Their alliance has grown stronger with every secret meeting, every shared glance in the dim light of the Grayson mansion. Clara's confirmed the thallium in Lucas's drinks, and Lucas has played his part perfectly, letting Vanessa think her plan is working. But they need more. They need proof that ties her to this deadly scheme, something undeniable to bring her down. The stakes are higher than ever, and the air between them crackles with tension, with something more. They're not just fighting for survival now, they're fighting for each other, even if they haven't said it out loud yet. It all comes to a head one stormy night, the kind where thunder rumbles like a warning, and rain lashes the mansion's windows. Lucas and Clara have been tracking Vanessa's movements, waiting for a slip. They've suspected she's not acting alone. Someone else in Lucas's inner circle might be helping her. That suspicion leads them to the library, a quiet corner of the house where Vanessa keeps her private files. Lucas picks the lock, a skill he learned in his reckless youth, while Clara stands watch, her heart pounding. Inside, they find a hidden drawer in her desk, stuffed with encrypted emails and financial records. Clara's sharp mind deciphers the code, her fingers trembling as she uncovers the truth. Vanessa's been working with Nathan Brooks, Lucas's trusted assistant of 10 years, to poison him and take over Grayson Enterprise. The emails lay it all bare: dates, dosages, a plan to make Lucas's death look natural so Vanessa can inherit everything. Before they can process it, footsteps echo down the hall. Lucas pulls Clara behind a bookshelf just as Vanessa and Nathan enter, their voices low but sharp. The storm outside masks their breathing, but Lucas's hand tightens around Clara's, grounding her as they listen. Vanessa's voice cuts through the air, cold and precise. "He's fading faster now," she says, pouring herself a glass of wine. "The last dose was triple strength. By next week he'll be gone and the board will hand me the keys." Nathan smirks, leaning against the desk. "And I'll step in as CEO. The merger with Horizon Pharma will collapse. Your family's company stays safe." Vanessa laughs, a sound like breaking glass. Grieving widow and loyal friend. It's perfect. No one will suspect a thing. Lucas's body goes rigid beside Clara, his breath catching as the betrayal sinks in. 10 years with Nathan, his best man, his confidant reduced to this. Clara feels his pain like it's her own. She presses closer, her hands slipping over his heart, a silent plea to stay calm. But Lucas can't hold back. He wraps his arms around her, pulling her tight against him, his face buried in her hair. "I don't know how I'd face this without you," he whispers, his voice breaking. The warmth of her body, the steady beat of her pulse, steadies him when he feels like he's fallen apart. Clara's arms tighten around him, her own resolve wavering. She's terrified not just of Vanessa, but of how much Lucas means to her now. In the dark, with danger so close, she can't hide from it anymore. She pulls back just enough to look at him, her hazel eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You're not alone," she says softly. "Not anymore." The moment shatters when Vanessa's phone buzzes, and she steps out to take the call. Nathan lingers, giving Lucas and Clara a chance to slip away, but not before Clara grabs a flash drive with the evidence. They retreat to Lucas's study, locking the door behind them. The storm rages outside, mirroring the chaos within. Lucas paces, his hands clenched, still reeling from Nathan's betrayal. 10 years, he mutters. He was family. Clara steps in front of him, her hands on his shoulders. "They don't deserve you," she says fiercely. "Not Nathan, not Vanessa. You're worth more than their greed." Her words hit him hard, cracking the walls he's built around his heart. He looks at her, really looks, and sees not just the maid who saved him, but the woman who's become his anchor. Clara takes a shaky breath, her own walls crumbling. "I need to tell you something," she says, her voice trembling. "Years ago, I worked for a company tied to Vanessa's family, Brightmore Pharma. I found falsified data, drugs that could kill people. I reported it, and they destroyed me, my career, my life. That's why I'm here, hiding as a maid. But now it's not just about justice, it's about you." Her confession hangs in the air, raw and honest. Lucas steps closer, his hands cupping her face, his thumbs brushing her cheeks. "You lost everything for the truth," he says, his voice low, "and now you're risking it all again for me." He leans in, pressing his forehead to hers, his breath warm against her skin. "Clara, you're the bravest person I've ever known. I won't let you fight this alone. I can't lose you." Their closeness ignites something unstoppable. Lucas tilts her chin up, his lips brushing hers in a tender, tentative kiss, a promise, a plea. Clara freezes for a heartbeat, then melts into him, her hands sliding to his chest as she kisses him back. It's not just passion, it's trust, relief, a shared strength forged in the fire of this nightmare. When they pull apart, breathless, Lucas rests his forehead against hers again. "I've been dying inside long before the poison," he admits. "You're bringing me back to life." Clara smiles, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Then let's keep you alive," she whispers, her fingers lacing with his. Together. Their moment is cut short by a sharp noise, Vanessa's heels clicking back toward the library. She's found the drawer open, the flash drive gone. Her voice echoes through the hall, furious. "Someone's been here," she snaps to Nathan. "That maid, she's with him, I know it." Her tone drips with venom, jealousy flaring as she senses the bond between Lucas and Clara. Lucas pulls Clara close, his jaw tight. "She knows," he says. "We're running out of time." Clara nods, her hand squeezing his. "Then we fight," she says, her voice steady despite the fear. "For us." In that instant, their love ignites, fully a flame born from danger, fueled by trust. Lucas looks at Clara and sees his future, not the empire, not the wealth, but her. She's his reason to keep going, to survive this betrayal and build something new. And Clara, who's spent years guarding her heart, feels it open wide for him, a man who sees her worth, who chooses her over everything else. Vanessa's rage is closing in, but they're ready not just to expose her, but to protect the fragile, beautiful thing growing between them. This isn't just a battle for justice anymore, it's a battle for their love, and they'll face it hand in hand. We're nearing the end of this incredible journey, my friends, and it's a moment where love is tested in the fiercest way imaginable. Lucas and Clara have uncovered Vanessa's deadly plan, her alliance with Nathan, the poison, the betrayal, and they've found something even more precious in each other. That stormy night in the study with their first kiss still burning on their lips, they know they can't hide forever. Vanessa's onto them, her jealousy and desperation turning her into a predator closing in for the kill. The evidence on the flash drive is their weapon, but getting it to the authorities means risking everything, and in the shadows, Vanessa isn't waiting. She's hired men to hunt them down, to silence them before the truth can break free. It happens late the next night, under a sky heavy with clouds. Lucas and Clara racing to a safe house outside Chicago, a place Lucas keeps off the books, a cabin by the woods where he once escaped the pressures of his life. The flash drive is tucked in Clara's pocket, their proof of Vanessa's crimes. Lucas drives, his hand steady on the wheel despite the tremor that lingers from the poison, while Clara scans the road behind them, her heart pounding. They're almost there when headlights flare in the rearview mirror, two black SUVs closing fast. "They found us," Clara says, her voice tight with fear. Lucas glances at her, his jaw set. "Hold on," he says, flooring the gas. The car lurches forward, tires screeching as he takes a sharp turn into the trees, hoping to lose them. But Vanessa's men are relentless. The chase ends when one SUV rams them from behind, sending their car spinning off the road. It crashes into a ditch, metal crunching, glass shattering. Lucas groans, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead, but he turns to Clara first. "Are you okay?" he asks, his voice rough with worry. She nods, dazed but alive, clutching the flash drive. Before they can catch their breath, the men are on them, three figures in black, armed and cold. Lucas pulls Clara out of the wreckage, shielding her as they stumble into the woods. "Stay behind me," he whispers, his hand finding hers, squeezing tight. She wants to argue she's not helpless, but the look in his eyes stops her. It's not just protection, it's love, fierce and unwavering. They don't get far. The men corner them near a clearing, guns drawn. One steps forward, his voice flat. "Hand over the drive, and this ends quick." Lucas steps in front of Clara, his body a wall between her and the danger. "You'll have to go through me," he says, his tone defiant despite the odds. Clara's heart lurches. She can't lose him, not now. But before she can act, the man lunges, a knife flashing in the moonlight. Lucas moves fast, years of instinct kicking in, and takes the blow meant for her. The blade slices his shoulder, blood blooming red against his shirt, and he staggers but doesn't fall. With a surge of strength, he tackles the man, knocking the knife away, giving Clara a chance to run. She doesn't. Clara grabs a fallen branch, swinging it with all her might at the second man, catching him off guard. The third fires a shot, grazing Lucas's arm, but he doesn't stop. He fights like a man with everything to lose, because he does. Together they bring the men down, breathless and battered, until the woods fall silent again. Lucas collapses to his knees, blood soaking his sleeve, and Clara drops beside him, her hands trembling as she presses her scarf to the wound. "You idiot!" she chokes out, tears streaming down her face. "Why did you do that?" Lucas looks up at her, his blue eyes soft despite the pain. "Because as long as you're safe, I don't care what happens to me," he says, his voice breaking. "You're worth it, Clara." Her sobs come harder now, raw and unstoppable. She cradles his face, her fingers stained with his blood. "I can't lose you," she whispers, her voice cracking. "I've lost too much already. You're my reason to keep going." Lucas reaches up, his hand covering hers, warm against her skin. "You're mine too," he says, pulling her close despite the pain. "You saved me from the poison, from her, but more than that, you gave me something to live for." He kisses her then, a desperate, tender press of lips, tasting of salt and blood and love. It's not gentle, it's a promise, a vow that they'll survive this together. They stumble back to the wrecked car, Lucas leaning on Clara as she bandages his shoulder with strips torn from her jacket. She finds his phone in the debris, miraculously intact, and calls a trusted friend, a detective Lucas has known since college. Within hours, the police swarm Vanessa's mansion, the flash drive in their hands. Vanessa's arrested, her perfect mask shattered as she's led away in handcuffs, screaming denials no one believes. Nathan turns on her, spilling everything for a deal, but it's over. Her empire of lies crumbles, and Lucas is free. Days later, Lucas stands outside the Grayson mansion one last time, Clara by his side. His shoulders bandaged, his face bruised, but his eyes are clear, alive in a way they haven't been in years. "I'm done with this place," he says, looking at the towering walls. "It's not home, not anymore." Clara slips her hand into his, her touch soft but steady. "Then let's find a new one," she says, her voice quiet but sure. He turns to her, a smile breaking through the exhaustion. "With you, anywhere's home," he says, pulling her close. They walk away together, leaving the past behind, their love a light that outshines the darkness they've endured. This isn't just a triumph over Vanessa. It's a triumph of the heart. Lucas could have stayed in that golden cage chasing wealth and power, but he chose Clara, chose love. And Clara, who'd locked her heart away after so much loss, found it beating again for him. They've faced death and won, not just with evidence, but with a bond that nothing can break. The road ahead won't be easy. There's healing to do, a life to rebuild, but they'll face it hand in hand, stronger for it. We've walked through the storm with Lucas and Clara, my friends, and now we're standing at the dawn of something beautiful, a new chapter born from the ashes of the old. Vanessa's reign of poison and deceit is over. Her arrest splashed across every headline in Chicago. The police, armed with the flash drive and Nathan's testimony, dismantle her plans piece by piece. Grayson Enterprises survives, but Lucas doesn't go back to it. Not the way he once did. That mansion, with its cold marble and hollow echoes, holds too many ghosts. He sells it, letting go of the life he thought he wanted because he's found something better, something real. And that something, or rather someone, is Clara Bennett, the woman who didn't just save his life, but gave him a reason to live it fully. A few weeks after the chaos, Lucas takes Clara to a place he's kept secret, a small wooden house nestled on the shores of Lake Michigan. It's nothing like the Grayson estate, no grand chandeliers, no sprawling halls, just a cozy cabin with a wraparound porch and windows that frame the water's endless blue. The air smells of pine and freedom, and the sound of waves lapping the shore feels like a heartbeat, steady and alive. They arrive at dusk, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink, and Lucas leads Clara inside, his hand wrapped around hers. The space is simple wooden floors, a worn sofa, a fireplace waiting to be lit, but to them, it's perfect. "I bought this years ago," he tells her, his voice soft, "a place to escape when the world got too loud. I never thought I'd share it with someone until you." Clara steps onto the porch, the cool breeze lifting her hair, and Lucas watches her, his heart full. She's still in her practical clothes, jeans and a sweater, nothing fancy, but to him she's radiant, more beautiful than any gala queen. He joins her, leaning against the railing, their shoulders brushing. "I don't want the old life back," he says, looking out at the lake. "The company, the power, it doesn't mean anything without you." Clara turns to him, her hazel eyes catching the last light of day. "You don't have to prove anything to me, Lucas," she says. "You already have." Her words are simple, but they carry everything. Trust, gratitude, a love that's grown through every trial they've faced. Lucas takes a deep breath, reaching into his pocket. He pulls out a small silver ring, not flashy, not adorned with diamonds, but etched with a delicate wave pattern, a nod to the lake that stretches before them. He drops to one knee, right there on the porch, and Clara's breath catches, her hand flying to her mouth. "Clara," he begins, his voice steady but thick with emotion, "you saved me not just from the poison, but from a life I didn't know I was drowning in. You saw me when no one else did, and you gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. I don't have much left, just this house, my name, and a heart that's yours if you'll have it. Will you marry me?" His blue eyes shine with hope, with love, and a vulnerability that makes him more human than ever. Tears spill down Clara's cheeks, but she's smiling a smile that lights up the twilight. She kneels in front of him, taking his face in her hands. "Lucas," she says, her voice trembling, "I spent years thinking I'd never find a home again, not after everything I lost, but you're my home. You gave me back my strength, my purpose. Yes, I'll marry you." She slips the ring onto her finger herself, a quiet act of certainty, and Lucas laughs, a sound of pure joy as he pulls her into his arms. They kiss there on the porch, the lake whispering its approval. A kiss that seals not just a promise, but a future they'll build together. Under the rising moon, they sit wrapped in a blanket, watching the water shimmer silver. Lucas's arm circles her shoulders, her head resting against his chest, their breaths sinking in the quiet. "I never thought I'd feel this," Clara admits, her fingers tracing the ring. "Safe, loved." Lucas presses a kiss to her hair. "I never thought I'd find someone who'd fight for me the way you did," he says. "You're my miracle, Clara." They stay there, lost in each other, the past fading like a bad dream. The cabin isn't just a house, it's a beginning, a place where they can heal, grow, and love without fear. This is their triumph, my friends, not just over Vanessa's darkness, but over the wounds they both carried. Lucas could have rebuilt his empire, chased the life he lost, but he chose Clara instead. A love that's simple, honest, and stronger than any fortune. And Clara, who thought her heart was too broken to feel again, found it whole in his arms. Their story proves that love can find you in the shadows, lift you up, and rewrite your destiny. So thank you for joining me on this journey with Emma's stories. If Lucas and Clara's love touched your heart, please like and share this video. Tell me, would you fight for a love like theirs? I'll see you in the next story, where love always finds a way. And here we are, my dear friends, at the end of Lucas and Clara's incredible love story, a tale of courage, betrayal, and a bond that turned darkness into light. As their new life begins on that quiet shore of Lake Michigan, I hope their journey has warmed your heart as much as it has mine. Now let's take a moment to breathe, to feel the emotions they've shared with us. Imagine the soft waves of the lake, the moonlight on their faces, and the promise of a future built on love. Thank you for walking this path with me on Emma's Stories. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who believes in the power of love. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell me what you felt. Until next time, keep your heart open, because love always finds a way.